By the way, Fast and Furious, Dave, here we go again. We got another Dave showing up here. Good morning to you. You want to get this? You worked on this pronunciation, so I'm going to let you get it right.
You got it.
It's David.
Okay. Yeah.
David Kieve is joining us. He heads up the EDF Action Group, the Environmental Defense Fund Action Group, edfaction.org. And David, good morning and welcome.
Good morning to you, Dave. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's great to have you with us. One of the things, it's funny, you know stuff and you feel stuff and you deal with stuff and you try to tell somebody else what you're dealing with and they say, yeah, I get it, and they don't really get it. It's down to it's in families, it's in groups, it's in schools, and it's in the country in terms of me being a citizen, you being a citizen, and the government people are the folks we need to make understand, but they live in a different world than we do. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. It's a different world. And it's not about rich or poor so much as it is about logistics. So is that the biggest challenge for our environment right now, giving people who push the buttons and sign the checks to understand what's going on, to take a moment? Obviously, they would understand if they knew what was going on. Why don't they know?
Gosh, well, that's a really open-ended question, Dave, that I could take in a bunch of different directions. But what you said about how you understand something and the person you're talking to might shake their head, but it's clear that they don't because they don't know as much as you do, deeply resonates with me. I was in the car taking my kids to camp this morning, and my son asked me, he said, Dad, are you nervous about this interview? And I said, yes. He said, why? I said, well, it's always a good idea to be nervous when the people you're talking to know a lot more about the subject you're talking about than you do. And I think the biggest challenge for me as an environmental advocate is I view myself basically as a salesman for the notion of climate progress and for the idea that an electric future is going to be better for all of us. And then the second thing that I sell is the idea that political participation matters and that people have an individual voice. So I'm so delighted to be on here because, Dave, you've done this for a really long time, first on terrestrial radio, as they used to call it, then on satellite radio, and congratulations on your new venture. But you've built a really powerful audience of people who are absolutely critical to the supply chain, who are the supply chain. And I'm excited to talk about the electric future that we're facing, or that we've got in front of us. But I'm also anxious about some of the policies that the government seems to be advancing very, very quickly, and the harms that those will have for all of us.
David, I wanted to kind of bring Jimmy Mac here, by the way. I wanted to kind of ask you, because it's been a real kind of pet peeve of mine, and one that you don't suffer from, by the way. So it's one of the reasons we asked you on this show. One of the biggest problems that I think a lot of people have with a more proactive environmental policy is that it often is, now put on your hair shirt, you deserve this. Now suffer because you've had this coming for a long time. And there are people out there who are pitching the idea, hey, if you do this right, you can have a lot of fun and make some money. Because there's nothing better than asking people to go on an adventure where there's the potential for profit, where there's the potential for an environment in which productivity is raised because the environment is better, our lives are better, there's more fun to be had. And so I would kind of ask you that first question, how can we advocate to people who work in an industry where their very livelihoods depend upon the continued use of diesel for the foreseeable future, and let them know, hey man, when we get this all worked out, this is going to be a blast, because we've got people like Jim Park who come on this show who just love electric trucks and love hydrogen vehicles, but even they struggle with how do we get these things online when they drain so much power from other resources. Am I making sense?
Yeah, you're making complete sense, and I agree completely. And as a general matter, I think telling people what they can have is a much better approach than telling people what you're going to have to take away from them. And that's very consistent with what the Environmental Defense Fund's approach has always been. We work with state and local governments to try to create incentives to make adoption of electric trucks and electric fleets far more widespread. And in places like Texas, we've actually worked to make sure that independent operators have an opportunity to ride along with their larger partners who are out there and qualify for the same sets of incentives. But when we talk about electric trucks, I think sometimes when we talk about the future, people in their minds, like I view everything in the world through kind of a cartoonish lens, people think about the Jetsons. And what's important for me is to make clear that we're not talking about the Jetsons or something that feels very, very far off. We're talking about the near term. We're talking about looking around the truck stop and seeing the newest, coolest truck in the lot that happens to be all electric. And one of the things that our studies have also found is a transition to an electric fleet has huge benefits that maybe you don't even think about, including it makes it easier for recruitment and for retention of drivers who want to be behind the wheel of the coolest trucks.
David, you're not going to believe this. The time is so limited here. I don't want to run you up the street. What I want to do, though, is I want to invite you back. We have a longer segment on Mondays at the end of the show. We would like to have a more in-depth conversation with you down the line in the next couple of weeks. Can you make yourself available for that? Like I said, we do 10 minutes on a bite here for the first 2 hours, and we don't want to run you off because you got a really important message. Promise us you'll come back.
I do. I really, really look forward to it, Jimmy and Dave, and I welcome the opportunity.
Okay, we're going to get his bona fides out here, too, by the way, Dave. David, would you do us the solid of letting people know all the places they can find out all about you and all your information, please?
Absolutely. I'm the president of EDF Action. That's EDF Action. You can go to our website, edfaction.org. We're advocating for the policies of the Environmental Defense Fund, including offering a fleet electrification solution center for operators who are interested in learning more. That website's a little bit easier to swallow down than edfaction.org. That's just electricfleet.org. So you can learn more about how easy it is to get behind an electric truck at that website.
David, leave next Monday open. We're going to get you on for a longer conversation because this is something worth digging into and really kind of getting into the weeds on. Okay?
I'd welcome the opportunity and grateful for the chance to be with you guys this morning.
We will consider this an introduction to David, like we are. Every time somebody appears the first time, we got to figure out who they are and what they do. We know this. We want you guys to figure this out. David's going to come back. We're going to set this up and get this going. It's a longer conversation, Dave. There's a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, and the approach that I think, David, that you are alluding to in some of the notes and everything too, is that we got to get if you're going to make people in Washington hear you, then you got to put a dollar sign in front of it. They've got to understand where the economics are. And the other thing, too, is the approach.
Yeah, and by the way, that's what David's really going to focus on when he comes back and talks to us again. This new format is wonderful. It's also fast and furious.